it off, Jen.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Chaos Within podcast, episode 7.
Wow. Lucky number 7?
Lucky number 7. This is going to be the one that makes us go viral.
Okay.
I'm ready. Are you ready to go viral?
Oh, I don't know. There's a lot of downfalls to that stuff.
So hypothetically, if we went viral off this episode, what happens next?
We keep working our jobs because the internet is a fickle place and they could hate us next week.
Let's say viral enough that, we just end up in the mainstream. We just, we get a studio, we get a tour bus, all the good stuff. Like,
I don't know. Have you seen those people that live on buses? They don't seem very happy.
I feel like it depends on who we're looking at. I feel like I've seen both sides of the equation.
Yeah, there's too many teenagers and preteens, small child that eats too much. Like, there's no way. We'd never make it.
Now that you mention it, I feel like the people that I've seen happier usually have a smaller childhood.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, today we're going to be video games because we love video games around here. Let's start with you. You have finished another stream game because you're just amazing. You finish games, unlike me.
Yeah. We can't all be like you, John, because then the game industry would die.
What did you play?
So I played Lost Records Bloom and Rage, the first half, of course, because this is being released in 2 parts. Tape 1 came out last week. Tape 2 comes out April 18th. And I have to say, having never played this kind of game before, because it is a story-based game, so you're just really making conversational decisions throughout the game, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much that I went back and found all of the Life is Strange games, and they're waiting for me to play them because I had so much fun playing it. So I don't think I really got too much into detail about the game as we were talking about it coming up. So you play a Swan, who is like a really awkward, kind of lonely teenage girl. It's set in the 90s, which that game was ripe with 90s nostalgia in a way that like really tickled my fancy. Like, I had so much fun with it because I was like, this is literally my childhood. Granted, I wasn't as old as them at the time, but like, it was perfect for me. And she ends up meeting some friends. So she makes friends with these 3 other girls, Kat, Nora, and Autumn. And the whole first part of the game, I know a lot of people, their main complaint about it was they felt like it was too slow, but for me, it made sense. These are girls that literally just met each other. They bonded over like a shared altercation that happened that they were all witness to. And I'm trying to do this as spoiler-free as possible. And then they became friends after that. And like, one thing that I felt that was really interesting about the game for me is Swan, the girl that you're playing as, is very awkward. Like, it's very clear that she never had friends before that. So she's not really comfortable in social situations as she's getting to know these girls. And there were so many times where I had to choose what I had to say. And I felt internally like that awkwardness. I was like, I don't want to feel like a weirdo if I say this. Like, what do I say? Like, reading through the options really quickly. And I felt how I felt like she was feeling at the time. Like, I felt that awkwardness. Like, I just want them to like me. I don't want to say the wrong thing. And I think that that is such an incredible thing to inject into a game where you actually feel like you're in the place of the character. Like, you actually feel like you're the character. And essentially you're just going through, like, it doesn't seem like it spans a long period of time, but you'll have moments where she's bonding with characters individually. You'll have moments where you have all the girls together. They find this really cool, like, cabin in the woods, and they make that like their secret hideout, and they make music together, and like they're sharing their traumas with each other. They're building a friendship. And I thought that it was really beautifully done. Like, I think the complaint of it was too slow was weird. Like, I saw that coming up a lot, but it's like, these are girls that are building a friendship. And like, I don't know if maybe they don't remember what it was like to be a teenager, but like, we all worried about whether or not people like this, at least to some extent. Like, we're not going to rush into friendships with people just because we finally made friends. We don't want to feel needy. We don't want to feel desperate. So I felt like it was timed appropriately. And then getting to the end of part 1 was like such a moment. I was literally going, like, because after my streams, I like to raid out into other people's streams, and I was going into other streams to see where they were in the story. And like, both of the people that I rated out in, because I beat this game in two streams, I said, oh my goodness, like, how do you like it? Like, what do you think? How are you feeling about it? And then I caught the person that I streamed into, rated out into on the first night. On the second night, like I checked in with them when they were playing again later, and I was like, I actually beat the game. Please tell me when you beat the game so we could talk about it. So I'm like, now I'm branching out and finding other people. And I got to witness someone else seeing the end of tape 1 and like seeing that very familiar feeling that I had when I saw what happened. And I was like, oh no. So like it leaves you in a really bleak spot, and you start to understand maybe what's leading down the path of these girls never speaking to each other again. You still have the lingering question of what's in the box, which, you know, it feels very familiar for a lot of things. I want to repeat the quote, but I really probably shouldn't because there's a lot of F-bombs in it. But what's in the box? Like, I want to know what's in the goddamn box. But honestly, very well done. I am so sad that April 18th is so far away because the story was beautiful. The relationships with all the girls were beautiful. Seeing them come back together as adults was really cool. And like seeing how they kind of didn't skip a beat. Like they just went back into their old friendship. So it's like, what's going to happen in part 2 that's going to make them stop talking to each other? Because it seemed like they were very comfortable with each other coming back together. So I don't know. I'm excited to see it. So April 18th, the second half comes out. I'll probably beat that part just as fast, and I'll be back with a review of the whole thing. And I might just replay the first part again because I am missing it. I got through it too quickly. It's supposed to be like a 14-hour campaign entirely. So for me, like my streams are normally 3.5, 4 hours. So it was easy for me to get through it.
My favorite part of the game was that sexy beast Dylan.
Oh, God. I hated Dylan so much. I mean, see, here's the thing. When you get to the end of part 1, you start to understand why people are the way they are. And it made a lot more sense. But I don't know. They make conversation about something that happened on the ranch, which I'm assuming we're going to see in part 2. So I don't know. I'm excited for more. And I'm definitely going to be going back and playing all of the Life is Strange games. I also got the Walking Dead games because you recommended those to me if I enjoyed that one. So I'm excited. This is like a whole new genre of games for me to give a try.
So I wanted to talk about The Walking Dead and then expand because there was 3 other games that came to mind that's down this alley that I feel like you might enjoy. So Walking Dead, as I told you, that is from Telltales. Telltales was popular. I feel like they started this storytelling game and this aspect of just making decisions as you play. It's not heavy gameplay, it's more so just making decisions as you go and the story evolves based on your decisions. That's my first experience with these type of games. So Walking Dead is where it started for me. Telltales made also, it is called, I believe, I can't remember. I lost it. Damn it. They made Batman, and then they also made a sequel to that Batman game. There's another one where The Wolf Among Us. That's what I was thinking of. The Wolf Among Us, I feel like has a cult following. I never played it. I never, just because at the time it just didn't interest me, I guess you'll say. But the Batman ones I do enjoy, but I feel like that's for a very particular group. Because it's a comic story thing. So I feel like if you like Batman, you'll probably enjoy that. But I feel like for The Walking Dead, it depends, because I feel like you're playing it outside of when everybody was talking about it. So this is what I enjoy for you as well, because you don't have that, echo chamber of, this, I didn't like this because this, that, and then everybody just falls with that opinion. So I enjoyed that story from beginning to end. Okay, it kind of fell off to the end only because I felt like, for me, I felt like been there, done that. That was my problem. It's just, it felt like by the time we got to the end, I was just kind of ready to move on for Telltale games, because that spanned for a couple years. So yeah, but the games that I wanted to suggest to you now, there's a studio called Quantic Dreams. I feel like you can say they took the Telltale formula and took it to the next level. So there's 2 games that I'm going to talk to you in the order they came out. The first one is called Heavy Rain. It is a story where you play as 3 characters. I know that game. Yeah, you play as a father, You play as a detective, and I forget who the third character was, but it's basically the story of it is a serial killer called the Origami Killer, and then in the process, the father, his child dies. The detective is trying to find out what's going on with this story, and then I forget about the third character. It's been a while.
Yeah,
but
I
it is.
Somebody play that. I might have watched Rick play that. That game might actually be in this house right now.
It is a great story. I felt like I said, it takes the Telltale formula, expands on it a little bit, because it's not just the making decisions part. It's actual some gameplay, nothing too crazy, but some gameplay weaved in between it. And then the second game is called Detroit Becoming Human.
I played that.
That's
I loved that game.
Yes. So, well, you played one of my suggestions. So
I played one. I think I'm trying. Heavy Rain feels so familiar that either someone played it in front of me or I played it. Because I remember, I think Rick might have played that one in front of me, and I played Detroit Becoming Human because the actor that plays one of the androids plays Jackson Avery in Grey's Anatomy, and I was like, he's hot. I'll play this, and then I ended up loving the story.
Yeah, my wife, that's what she took away from that game, because she's a big Grey's Anatomy fan. So.
Listen, we all have weird rationale for why we play the things we play. I like to keep an open mind, but for that one, I started there, and then I started finding out more about the story, and I was like, I love this game. I actually have that game. I think for PS4.
Yes.
I played it. I loved it. I need to play it again. Thank you. I'm putting that back on my list.
Go find Heavy Rain. It's a little darker.
Well, I'm sure that's here too, but it's probably in Rick's collection of games. So
that will be a PS3 game.
Yeah.
So
the game room has games all the way from the original Nintendo through PS5, Xbox, whatever. We got them. We're not game traders, because GameStop gives you 5 pennies for a game, so it doesn't feel worthwhile. Which, GameStop is trying to figure out why they're going out of business. It's probably because I brought a game to you that I got 2 weeks ago, and you're telling me I get $2 for it. Maybe that's why. But then I see it on the shelf getting sold for $30. No, GameStop, your downfall is your own.
I remember my father cursed out one of the employees at GameStop because we bought a game brand new, $60, and it was a Dragon Ball Z game. I think it was called Super Dragon Ball Z. It was a PS2 game, and I ended up getting it, and it was just a horrible experience. Didn't enjoy it at all. Nothing. Came back the next day. He's like, I want a refund, and it's like, well, because you opened it, we can only give you store credit, and we're only going to give you $25 for it. And he's like, what? I literally just paid $60 yesterday. Nah. He got his refund by the end of that story. So it's a very fun. It's a fun day. I think we was on vacation in Puerto Rico at the time. So yeah.
Okay, I don't remember the last time I went to a GameStop, but that's beside the point. That's not what we're talking about here. GameStop doesn't deserve any more airtime.
Good times.
But yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna go back and play that Detroit Becoming Human, because I loved that story too. It was beautiful. It was very well done. But yeah, so I'm gonna have to add both of those games to my list as a replay and also a new play, because I'm fairly certain that Rick played through Heavy Rain. If it's come out in the last 10-ish years, then that's who I would have watched play it, and now I gotta go play it for myself.
Can't wait to see. I
think I'm just gonna start playing retro games on my stream. Forget this new stuff. Just kidding. There's really good new stuff coming.
Fun. Come on.
What's sad? It hurts me a little bit to say that a game that came out within the last 10 years is retro gaming. I feel so old. We're not gonna do that. There's a lot of really good new games coming out though that we wanted to talk about today.
Yes.
March is good. March is good for me. John doesn't really like games like that, so you're not going to hear a lot from him in this section. But of course, so I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I actually really enjoy playing the Sims games. I don't really play them on stream because I don't want to become a Sims streamer, and I feel like that's the natural progression of that. But fun fact, my very first stream on Twitch was back in July of last year, and it was playing Sims 4. So that was the one and only time I played Sims on stream. And that was the one time I streamed on Twitch before diving completely into TikTok for a while. So there you go. chaotic/Sherry lore unlocked. All right, so the first game that I wanted to mention coming out was actually Split Fiction. You guys have heard me talk about that a whole bunch of times. It's about these two ladies, Mio and Zoe. They're both storytellers. They're coming out. One's writing a sci-fi story, one's writing a fantasy story, and they go to this huge mega corporation where they're going to go into this little ball and share their story. And what they find out as I don't know which one of them is the one that figures it out before she dives into the ball with the other, but one of them finds out that they're actually just going to steal their story, and this is a problem because they don't want their stories to be stolen. So she ends up in the little memory ball with the other girl. They end up trying to fight through their stories together, and it switches back and forth between sci-fi and fantasy throughout the game. It is a co-op game. It's meant to be a co-op game, but you only need to buy one copy, and I will keep talking about how fantastic that is. That makes me so excited, especially because me and my husband play all these co-op games together. Like, we're big on that. We love co-op games. I wish they would make another Army of Two, but that's besides the point. So we only have to buy the one copy. We're going to be able to play it together, and I'm super excited about it because you will hear me talking about it after that comes. So I think another couple weeks, you'll have a review on that game as well, because I'm probably going to force him to play it with me until we beat it. Don't tell him that. Shh, don't watch this part of the episode, Rick.
You mentioned it, and immediately my memories just went back. Army of Two, just back to back.
Yes.
Just
because our play styles are so different that we mesh really well. Like when we played Army of Two, I was very much like the tank. So I had my big shield, I had my big gun, and I would just go up in front of everything, like taking all the attention, and he would be in the back with his sniper, picking off anything that was focused on me, which was everything. So we have a natural balance in our play styles, which works. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Next game.
Yes, next game. All right, so I had them here in order. So the next game is Assassin's Creed Shadows. Please, for the love of God, if you can just actually come out on March 20th, that would make my whole year because I've been waiting. But I feel like the delays were worth it. I did see the recent gameplay and it looks incredible. I'm really excited about the new parkour. I've learned a lot more about what is to come with that. So you have the ninja Naoe, and then you have the samurai Yasuke. I have learned that you can actually largely ignore one of the other story. Like, you don't have to play as both of them if you don't want to, or it might be just very limited. So I'm interested in that, but I don't think I'm going to do that because that won't feel like a complete experience to me. While I do think I'm going to prefer the playing style of Naoe because she's a ninja, she's really stealthy, that's more like the Assassin's Creed way. I want to get the full picture of the story. For me, that's always going to be the most important part of an Assassin's Creed game, is fully understanding every aspect of the story. And I really like how it looks like it's going to be set up. They're starting off on opposite sides, and then at some point something happens and it brings them together and they can choose to work together. It seems like they're kind of need to work together to stop whatever's happening. So I'm excited. I'm still a little bit disheartened that the ending is the ending no matter what you do, apparently. Just who's standing by your side is going to be different. I would have liked more than that. So we're going to see how that pans out once I do play the game. And that's fun fact for all of you. That is my first planned 24-hour stream when that game comes out, because if anybody ruins the story of Assassin's Creed for me, I will cry. So I've decided I'm just going to play it. And hopefully the campaign's not longer than 24 hours because I'm going to be in trouble. It probably will be, but I'm going to play as much of it as I can.
Well, I live on both sides of the fence with this game, so I have good things, I have bad games. I look forward to this game as well, but I think I've said this before. I don't know if I'm going to buy it at launch. I'm not sure yet.
You can watch me play it first and decide. I'm not 24 hours. I'm going to do it.
I'm gonna be there enough to digest what I need to digest. That's how I'm feeling about it.
Not enough to ruin the story for yourself. So it's fine.
Exactly. After that news came out about you can ignore one side of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the last time we talked about Assassin's Creed, I just had that same feeling. I don't understand the point of Yasuke, right? Just from a gameplay perspective. Yeah. You forget the fact
he's so clunky.
Yeah, he's so clunky, and then at the same time, he doesn't feel anything like Assassin's Creed.
But maybe that's the point.
Yeah, but then if you're telling me I can ignore one side of the story, right? What's the difference from that and Valhalla when I could just, switch genders and it's not really changing the story, right? That's how I view that little aspect of it. Like,
Yeah.
if you're telling me I could just play the game mostly entirely as Naue and ignore kind of Yasuke's side or vice versa, I just don't. Because
Yeah.
if I decided to ignore Naue's side, it is not an Assassin's Creed game then.
No.
So that's why it's just like I don't really feel like at least that decision was really thought out. Because it's like on paper I see it, I get it, I understand he's supposed to be the brute, but now you're telling me this part, at least story wise, is just like I'm just not seeing it. Like, I feel like maybe if he had more Assassin's elements to him, like maybe he could be the Berserk, but maybe actually still do Assassin-like things. But he's not that at all, and it is a weird place, and I feel like I just need to see the game play out to, I guess, get a better opinion about how I feel about that. So, in terms of just taking place in Japan, as we talked about, I'm excited for that. I feel like I'm also looking to pass this point of just, I feel like this game holds the future of Ubisoft in his hands. So I'm kind of looking forward to see what that ends up looking like. So that's really all I got on Assassin's Creed right now.
I don't know. Like I feel like this is reminiscent of one of the earlier games. Which was it? Rogue, where you play as a Templar.
Yes.
Maybe he starts that way and realizes he's wrong. And that's how he ends up partnering with her. Maybe that's like the feudal spin of that story. And I mean, we won't know until it comes, but I feel like they've done this kind of before, so maybe they're just going to do it better this time.
Yeah, like mostly my thing is just like a gameplay perspective. Like, I'm not story-wise, like story is a story. I'm going to follow the story. It's just the gameplay, like that gameplay decision is not where it's clicking for me. So
yeah. I mean, we'll see. Either way, I mean, I am a diehard like Assassin's Creed fan. I love them. They have disappointed me, and I still come back for more on release day every time. So, like, whatever feelings I have about it at this time, because I'm going into this with a lot of questions that are not going to be answered until the game is in hand and I'm playing it, I'm still going to do it because I know ultimately at the end of it, I'm probably going to still be satisfied with the experience. There's going to be things that I might not be in love with, but I feel like overall, the way that they've done storytelling up to this point, I've typically enjoyed. Minus like a few blemishes on their record, but we're not going to talk about Unity right now. But like, it is what it is. I'm going to play it, and hopefully I enjoy it, and it's worth being up for 24 hours.
Unity was the one that came out really buggy at launch, right?
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy Unity a lot better now.
I haven't played it again since it, like, post-launch was okay.
If you would be up to it, I think you should revisit it, like on a PS5 or Xbox, or even on PC. Nah, let's go with PS5 or an Xbox. I think you should revisit it. You don't even have to play the whole thing. Just revisit it.
It's an old game now, too. I think it's like 10, 11 years.
Maybe more than that.
Yeah, I think it's fairly old.
Yeah, because I recently played it, was booted up and playing it on Series X, and at least on Xbox they do performance boosting on older games, so that I think it boosted it to 60 frames. I might be wrong about this. I might be lying, but I know overall just the experience is a way better experience than it was at launch.
I mean, to be fair, at launch it was pretty horrendous.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So. It wouldn't take a whole lot to get better.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
But before we leave, one of the things I also look forward to with Shadows is I feel like they need to bring a focus towards the modern day. I'm interested in that modern day story.
They're finally bringing it back. They hadn't really focused on it as much. Yeah,
like I feel like the Assassin's Creed games is a completionist game, because if you're not a completionist about Assassin's Creed, it's hard to follow the modern day. And even somebody
have no idea what's happening.
Yeah, even as somebody like myself, like, even though like Valhalla, I didn't finish it. what is the one before that? Odyssey. I got very far in it, but I also didn't finish that one.
Hollow is
So-
a good game too.
But I go back and I watch like just story breakdown videos of talking about like just the entire story. Like that's a me thing. I go back and watch
You
hour-long
have to,
videos.
though.
Yeah.
Like,
So
if you don't know who Desmond Miles is and why he's so important, like, don't even talk to me about Assassin's Creed. Like,
yeah, and that's why
like
what's this one? Valhalla. The way I think because it might the one that what is the most recent one that came out?
Mirage.
It could be Mirage that I'm confusing it with, but the way it leaves off, what is the end of the female that was brought into the modern day? I believe Mirage is the end of her story.
I think so, yeah.
So the way her story leaves off and who she meets at the end of it is very interesting. And I was just like, okay, spoilers. It's kind of bringing Desmond back into the equation. So
I didn't actually finish that game. I actually have plans to finish it before Shadows because I got distracted by other stuff. And I'll be honest, Mirage is the one game that didn't really pull me in.
Gotcha. But in the modern day story, like I said, it's bringing, I won't say how, but it kind of brings Desmond back into the equation, and it's very interesting.
Well,
to
now
see
I gotta
where
go
that
play it
goes.
right now.
Yeah, where it goes forward from there. So I'm interested to see who's the new what are they going to be doing for that modern day element? Who's the new character? Well, because like I said, I don't remember her name, but that's the end of her story in that. So whatever they choose to do next is interesting for the modern day. So
I'm excited. I mean, either way, I'm still going to be excited about it. So it's fine. Let's see. Next game on the list was the first Berserker Kazan. So this story was actually fairly interesting to me. I actually didn't find out about this until I started really looking into what was coming out in March. So this one reminded me a bit of God of War. Like, this is one of those revenge stories. It looked like he's overcoming loss based on the trailers that I saw. And he's being blamed, and I guess he was exiled for treason or something. Like, he was blamed for something that he did not do. And now he's coming back, and he's coming back for revenge. And you see him running through, and like that, I think the reason it reminded me of God of War is I see him like dual wielding like weapons, running through, mowing things down, having these really cool boss battles where you can't just like swing and hope for the best. Like, you have to be more strategic about those fights. And I think the thing that drew me to it the most was that cel-shaded art style. There's not a whole lot of games of this type that give you that really beautiful art style. So I'm kind of excited about that. I'm not 100% sold on whether or not I'll get the game at launch, just because there's so many other things this month that I'm interested in. And realistically, that's like the week after Assassin's Creed Shadows. So I'm probably still going to be really deep into that game. But I don't know, like it looks beautiful. The fighting looks really great. It looks like it's very intuitive as far as games go. You get to develop your own kind of fight style. So I don't know.
Yeah, like same thing. I didn't really know about this game until we looked into March. To me, like you said, God of War. I feel like it's probably in that vein of more Black Myth Wukong. Because Black Myth Wukong takes the elements of a Souls-like and also the elements of God of War and spins it together really well. Yeah. And that's what I see it being more so as, because it doesn't look like as difficult as a Souls-like game. Because Souls-like is literally
like Souls-light.
Yes, much better. Souls-likes is just running into a wall thousands of times until eventually you get through it. Eventually you'll get through it.
Yeah, and in this game, it seems like if you're really tactical about the way that you approach fights, like you get the upper hand on some enemies by sneaking up on them. Like, you have to be really smart about how you're entering fights, but they're not unbeatable. They don't feel like impossible challenges. You just have to be smart about how you're approaching them.
Yep. So yeah, I don't think it's something I'll be buying, but it does look interesting and worth a mention. So
yeah, I think I'll play it eventually, not immediately, but some point down the line. And the last game that I wanted to mention was Inzoi, which is coming out March 28th, and has been rumored to be the Sims killer because it's so much more in depth than the Sims is. Like, I don't know if any of you have seen any of the demos of just the character creator alone. Like, the game looks beautiful. The character creator is very much expanded from what The Sims is. You also have more control over the lives of everyone in the world. So, like, typically in The Sims, you load in a family, you control that family, and everyone else is just kind of visiting and doing whatever and actively doing whatever their character might do in that situation in your home. Apparently in Inzoi, you can go into like any place and control every single one of the Zois, as they're called, in that place without question. Like, you can just control anything and everyone. You can also do things like control the weather. One thing that I thought that was really fascinating, you can actually drive the cars for work instead of it just being speeding by, or maybe like a handful of jobs that you can actually go to with some of those expansions. You can actually go to their job with them, and they have like a list of tasks they have to complete. So you do those tasks with them. I thought it was really cool that the furniture is completely customizable. Instead of having a few different patterns you could choose from, you can completely make it whatever you want. And you can even take pictures of stuff, apparently, and import them into your game. So if you have something cool in your house and you're like, I want my Zoe to have this thing in their house, like, they get to have that thing. And I think that it's a really interesting, like, the ideas that they have behind how this works is actually pretty interesting, because you work at like a company that does like artificial reality, and you control the lives of the Zoes. So it's kind of like taking a step back. You're controlling a person that's controlling other people, which feels kind of trippy in itself, but I think it's pretty cool. And then there's like a karma system in there. You can also spread rumors, trends, and you can actually spread illness from one person to another. So it feels like The Sims on overdrive. Like, it's a real living world. It's way more realistic to what life actually is. So I'm actually really excited about that. That's probably the other reason why I wouldn't get First Berserker immediately, because this actually comes out the 28th, so it comes out a day later. Because I'm excited to see where this goes. Really happy that EA is very far away from this game. So we're gonna hope for the best here. So far it looks beautiful. I was watching people playing like the early demos of like the character creator with some basic stuff. Like, this game is incredible looking, so I'm excited for it.
I don't really got much on it, so
It's okay.
I'm never been a Sims fan, so
We know you don't really like games, John. It's all right.
yeah, sorry. If it was like Roller Coaster Tycoon, though.
You know, there is a museum curator game coming out in March. If you really you want something interesting, a management sim, so to speak. I think that comes out. Oh, it comes out the 4th, actually. There you go.
Okay. Okay. A response I wasn't expecting. Okay.
I always got something for you.
To end it, last game that I'm interested in is it is Bleach, based on anime. Bleach Rebirth of Souls. It is an arena fighter anime game. I live in that realm depending on the anime. So it is an arena fighter which seems to be taking a different spin on the formula, especially with the gameplay systems. It's hard for me to explain them because I'm still trying to understand them through trailers. It's something I more need to put in my hands to understand what's really going on. But just from the perspective of looking at visually, it looks beautiful. Kind of looks just like I won't say just like Sparking Zero, because I feel like right now Sparking Zero, Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero, is living in a world of its own when it comes to how an anime game looks. But
you don't want to make people mad.
Exactly. So for me, in terms of arena fighters, I feel like the last great arena fighter was probably like Naruto, Ninja Storm 4 or even 3, Ultimate Ninja Storm. I feel like that was the last really great ones that we had. But lately it just feels like most anime games live in this arena fighter space, and I wish something would change that formula. Sparking Zero just kind of went back to the past of something that worked, so I won't say it's changing it. But and also I'm not really the biggest Bleach fan. I got into it, but I didn't really go that much further than the first major story arc. But I do like the lore of Bleach, and I also do enjoy like seeing just Bleach in action video game wise. So it's a game I definitely will be trying out. I mean, maybe it'll get me to go further into Bleach. We'll see. I know there's probably somebody in the comments or somebody's watching this like, you're not watching the 1,000-Year Blood. No, I'm not. Sorry, man. Bleach is just not. It's hard
It's
for
a
me
long
to.
one.
It's not even that it's long. It's just, when you watch an anime, there are some times where you have to suspend your disbelief, and that one was just a little too rough for me because it's the best way I can explain it is like if we're gonna go to Dragon Ball Z. You've watched all of Dragon Ball Z, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like
And Super, and now I'm watching Daima.
For me, it's like if I told you we'll go with the end of Dragon Ball Z, Goku's most strongest form is Super Saiyan 3, right? It's like, okay, Super Saiyan 3, but then the next arc, he's fighting a regular human like you or me, not even more powerful than him, and for some reason he can't beat him. Like, that was what Bleach did to me. It was like that first arc. Exactly, that first arc was awesome, but then I guess the next arc that happened is a filler arc, and it just once I was like, you had me here, but then you want me to believe that they can't stop this person. Like,
love anime, hate fillers.
Yeah, I was like, it was that killed it for me, and I was like, I just can't do it. So I've always like kind of dived into Bleach. Like I've had the story explained. I watched those videos. I've watched what happens throughout the story of Bleach, but beyond that, I can't watch it because the fillers, at least the Bleach fillers, and I've watched Naruto, so I know fillers. Bleach is that specific filler where we were and then where we dropped off to. It just wasn't really making sense. It didn't click, and it was enough for me to say, you know what, I really don't care to watch this anymore.
Yeah.
So,
I get that. I feel like I got to that point with Daima for a little bit. We just started like picking back up with it again now that there's a bunch of episodes available, but it was just like you unlocked godlike powers, but they gave you the body of a child and now you suddenly can't figure it out. Like that's not connecting in my brain too good. But I feel like if you can be a god, if you can unlock godlike powers, you can be able to like hit that little room that Bulma has for like a hot minute and figure it out pretty quick. So
Daima takes place before Super.
Oh,
so
I hate this timeline nonsense.
I gotta. Before somebody comes for you, I gotta let.
He was still pretty strong at the end of Dragon Ball Z.
Yes.
So even if this happens in the middle, like, how do you go from being this like ultra powerful being to now I'm in this body of a little boy? I don't know how to control myself.
I gotta let you watch it. I gotta let you watch it. Because
I think we're on like episode 5 or 6.
Yeah, so you need to watch a lot more, Daima. We need to revisit this when you get somewhere near done. Yeah, your opinion will completely change.
No.
Yeah, I 100%.
Although there was a point where what's her name? The little girl that's traveling with them. Well, I say little, but she's like 82. She asked him about how his kids turned out or something, and he's like, I wasn't really around. And I looked at Rick like, at least he admits he's a deadbeat dad. But anyway, it's like maybe she needs to ask Piccolo what it's like to raise kids.
Somebody gotta do it on me.
Stepdad of the year right there.
Unc Piccolo right there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that covers March mostly.
Yeah.
Everything.
I mean, if we're interested, there's a lot of stuff coming out in March, so I highly recommend like taking a look for yourselves. I know there's like a Carmen Sandiego game a lot of people seem to be excited about. That's not really up my alley, but I know it's coming out on like everything, I think.
Carmen Sandiego.
There is a Carmen Sandiego game that I've seen mentioned a few times that comes out March 4th. So, go ahead, give that a look if Carmen Sandiego is a name that triggers some childhood nostalgia for you. I mean, it does for me too, but just not enough to buy a game about it.
I remember I used to have a computer game years ago.
Well, it's coming out on everything. You could even play it on Netflix, apparently. So.
Oh, that's how I'm playing it. Yep. There we go.
Like, literally everything. You can play it on your phone, you can play it on Netflix, you can play it on Xbox Series X, Android, like, whatever. Yeah, so. I think that's interesting. I want to see how the game experience varies between, like, that's the only thing I'm curious about, between Netflix and, like, PS5. It's even on PS4. Like, they even put it back to that one, too. Like, I'm curious to see how the game experience is going to vary across those things, or if it's going to be exactly the same.
In my head, the way you're talking about it, it's probably gonna look like there was a solo leveling mobile game that came out, but you could play it on PC. I think you could play it on Xbox as well. And I don't know if you play on Netflix, but it's primarily a mobile game, and it just looked better. I guess it didn't really play like oh my god different. Just looked better where you were playing it. So
We'll try it on Netflix and let y'all know. Maybe, I don't know.
Honorable mention: there's a GTA update that's coming. For anybody who cares about that. It's just putting the PC game on par with the Series X and PS5 experience. That's all that's happening there.
So they can shut y'all up for a little bit while they keep holding out on GTA 6. That game ain't never coming, y'all. Let it go.
And when it does,
it's
you'll
an
be watching
legend.
me play it.
Yeah.
You'll be watching me play it.
Probably drooling from the old folks home. GTA 6 coming in 2055.
Damn. No faith. No faith.
Oh man. It is what it is.
So here we go. The best segment of this podcast. Sherry's D&D Corner.
Sherry's D&D Corner. Although the questions this week are actually coming from John, so I'm slightly concerned and a little alarmed because I have no idea what they are.
Wow. So for these questions, I need you to step into the role of your most recent D&D character.
Oh, okay.
Who is this character? Let's gain some insight first.
So this is the character that I talked about when we first started this podcast. So her name is Mazikeen. She is an orc. She's reincarnated. She was originally a dwarf. She's a barbarian. She's big, bad, and strong. Like when I say strong, for those of you familiar with D&D, she had a strength of 30. She was dumb strong. She was the hero of the island, the continent, Ionia. She was the one that ultimately got the final blow on the final big bad in our campaign that she was a part of, because everybody else died, unfortunately, at that time. And she lives happily ever after with her human bard husband, Shepherd, and their little half-orc children, because she is the chief of her people. So, they're living happily on an island, doing peaceful stuff.
All right, so we need to rewind time a little bit, and let's go mid-adventure before we get to the
mid-adventure. She was punching people's heads off their shoulders.
Yes, that's the version of the character we need. Okay. So, question 1. If your character had a reality TV show, what would it be called?
Bad Girls Club. Just kidding. But really, she would fit in perfectly there because the way... Listen, it would probably just be Don't Test Me. Because there was a point in this campaign where, like, when people disrespected her, she just reacted. Like, there was no, that was actually one of her character flaws, was, like, she immediately reacted to disrespect. And there was one time we were in a tavern, and there was a dwarf there. It was actually an adventuring party we were supposed to cross paths with that were supposed to make it difficult for us. And he's like, oh, it smells like a beautiful dwarf. And then he looked at me and he said, well, why are you so ugly? Or something along those lines. It was so long ago. And I was like, I'm going to punch him. I rolled for it. I hit a nat 20 and I punched him so hard, I knocked him unconscious. The entire altercation we were supposed to have in that tavern didn't happen because between me punching him out cold and the wizard threatening the other guy in the party with fireballing the whole place down to the ground, he was just like, oh, nah, we don't want no parts of this. We're just going to pick up our friend. We're going to leave. And the whole altercation that the DM had planned went right out the window because I knocked that guy out in one hit. So definitely Don't Test Me. But if they were doing auditions for Bad Girls Club, she would punch her way to the front of the line.
Okay. All right. Next question. Your character gets a theme song. What ridiculous theme song plays every time they enter a room?
Oh, that's such a hard question.
Ridiculous.
What's the most ridiculous WWE intro? Because I feel like the way she was dressed and the way she carried herself, she'd be coming in with a super ridiculous wrestler intro.
The Big Show?
Big Show? I'll take it. She would be coming out making muscles, getting the crowd into it, ready to just beat the hell out of whatever was in the ring.
I'm gonna
Like
need.
she'd be the one that would get fired because she got a little too real with how hard she was hitting.
I feel like I'm gonna need Rick to co-sign on that. he would. I feel like because he's been around your character more, he would know better.
She was listen, like when I say she started very angry and definitely like was on a path to redemption by the end, like it was no joke. Like she had to deal with hags in the beginning, like in exchange for like giving her a way to kind of mix in with regular people and giving her a way to hide as a human. They gave her like a handkerchief to wear so she looked like a regular human woman, but she had to steal the eyesight and voice of a baby. So these people had a baby who was blind and cried but made no sound, and then I had to steal the eyeballs of another little girl that died. Like she did some monstrous stuff in the beginning, and by the end she was the hero of the people. But there was a lot of bumps on that road in that like 2 years that we were in that campaign. It took her a long time to become hero of the people. That was like maybe the last 6 months at best. She was a straight up asshole up until that point.
Sounds like somebody I know.
Not me, obviously. I'm a gem.
So what I try to do is two funny questions, and I'm going to give you two still funny, but more of a serious funny, right? It's like, right? Hopefully this lands. So, next question. What's the most unexpected decision a party member has ever made?
Ooh. That's a rough one, because I feel like there's been a lot of really crazy moments. So the wizard in our group, apparently when we first started this campaign, his whole plan was to get to the end of it and turn on us and side with the bad guy to help them kill us. That was his entire plan. I feel like if that had happened, we might have probably been fighting with him in real life, because going through 2 years of campaign to have that happen is like brutal. But what ends up happening with his character, and he ends up telling us this afterwards.
Question before you. This is the campaign that ended with you rolling, or you having the role that decided the fate of everything?
Yes, the fate of the entire world.
Okay.
So what ended up happening is partway through the campaign, when Rick's original character, Iroh, died, his character made such an impact on everyone in the party that it changed all of our alignments, I think, for the most part. Some of us went more angry and evil. Most of us went in like a nicer direction. And the wizard at that point in time, like, let us know, like, he was shifting. And like, he eventually at some point down the line tells us, like, I was planning to betray you guys at the end, but what happened with Iroh changed everything. And that's why I decided not to do that. And I was like, that was unexpected in two different directions, because I would have never expected it. Like, he played the character very well as like a very typical, like, I'm better than you and you guys are all idiots, and it's like, whatever. And he would say that to me all the time. I'm just like, whatever. And I would give him a shove and he would get over it. But it was really interesting to watch that dynamic kind of happen with that character. And I feel like wholeheartedly, if that had happened in the end, then that would have been the biggest one. And that's honestly, that was the first thing that came to my mind when you asked that question, even though it didn't actually happen, thankfully. That was the first thing that came to my mind, because that would have been insane.
Okay, all right.
I probably would have flipped the table. I would have found a way.
Would have been boycotted for life. That's it.
Yeah. I'm never playing D&D again. This is crazy.
So, last question. What is the weirdest NPC your DM has ever introduced?
I don't think there's ever been any truly weird ones. Like, we've never really encountered anyone out of the ordinary. We've always encountered like really standard situations. I will say though, there was one experience with a merchant once that was actually hilarious. The lead up to this, part of my character's arc of redemption was to get freedom for my people. Her being an orc, they were being controlled by frost giants, and these frost giants were led by a storm giant. So to gain freedom for her people, we all went up to the frost giant encampment, and we were going to challenge the storm giant, because that's how you gain control of a group of people. So we kill the storm giant. The cleric
can wear the armor that the storm giant has, and of course magical armor will just suit whatever size of the person that's wearing it. So he immediately puts on the armor of the storm giant while we're still in the frost giant encampment. Right after killing the storm giant, he and our ranger go to a shop because he wants to sell his old armor, which is useless to them because his old armor I don't think was magical. So he walks into the shop, and the shopkeep's first reaction is, where'd you get that armor? Why are you wearing that? And he just kept bumbling along in the conversation. I was like, oh my God, he's gonna die in there. Nobody knows that guy's dead. He's wearing something he's not supposed to be wearing. That's a giant. He's a cleric. Like, this is crazy. And it ended with the ranger being like, oh no, we gotta go, and like literally dragging him out of there because he kept dragging on the conversation. I was like, oh my God. And we're watching this at the table in horror. None of us could intervene because we're not actually there. It's literally just him and the ranger. And I'm so grateful that she was quick on her feet and she got them the hell out of there because he would have died. There's no way. He would have died. As a frost giant, even one that's not set up for fighting, is still a pretty hardy creature. It just is. They're pretty strong. It can throw a boulder at you, you will die. So it was, yeah. So not necessarily an interesting NPC, but just a really very poorly timed choice. And this is D&D, y'all. Sometimes you make good choices, sometimes you make really bad choices, and then it ends up being a funny story for later.
Yeah, it seems like there's the serious and the funny. Just everything in between.
I mean, really, I think the best comparison to D&D is like, this is literally Monty Python in the Quest for the Holy Grail. Like, you have serious things you have to do, but the path to the serious thing is hijinks. It's just a whole bunch of us doing nonsense for no reason sometimes. Like, we're just like, oh, we got to get to that place. We're going to walk along, like, and then we'll come across like ridiculous stuff on the path, or we'll decide to do ridiculous things. And we had one party member that was with us for a while, and his thing was talking to trees. Every day he talked to trees. He would go outside as soon as he woke up and immediately just talk to the trees. And for the longest time, the trees didn't talk back. And then eventually the DM was like, all right, the tree's gonna start talking back to you. The tree would tell him things. And I was like, this is interesting. But like, you could literally just do whatever you want. Like, I was a barbarian that had to rage to meditate.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like it makes sense.
It's, for my character, it did, because I was the champion of the god and of the moon, the goddess, the god of all gods. I had to find a way to meditate that made sense for my character. My character wasn't calm. She found focus in rage. When she raged, she can focus on one singular thing and keep it there. So that's what made most sense for her. So it's like D&D just is whatever you want to make it. It's whatever your DM wants to make it. And I think it's even more awesome when you get to be in like someone else's world, because you can't spoil it for yourself. Like, I think if you're doing like a standard campaign, you could pick up that book and you could spoil that story for yourself if you really wanted. DMs will make changes here and there. Like, I know Rick, for our home campaign that we're doing now, he's doing a campaign that I've done in the past, but he's incorporating his own little changes to kind of shake it up for me. And that's just what it is. Like, every DM has their flair, but I think that's one of the really cool things about it, is you can literally make it anything, and then your players will make it anything. And it's not just one person at the table that's making choices to throw things off track. Like that whole tavern experience I was telling you about, that completely went way different than he could have ever imagined in his head, because he could have never expected that the wizard would be like, I'll burn this whole bitch to the ground. And he could have never expected that me reacting to that insult could knock this guy unconscious with just my fist. Like, there was no way he could have seen that coming, but it happened. And it was really interesting because we ran into that party later on. The guy was like, look, I didn't do anything, I'll leave. Don't hit me. And they just gave me the information I was looking for, but I just thought it was funny.
I just want to say, as that barbarian, if you never said that you did something in the name of the moon, you missed an opportunity, and I'm disappointed in you.
I didn't.
You failed.
I know.
You failed.
No, oddly enough, there is a Sailor Moon live show that's coming around that I kind of want to go to. So.
What?
Yeah, it's coming local to me, so.
You're gonna do a live episode from that? Got it.
I'm not trying to get sued by them. Are you crazy?
Well, That's all my questions. As always, you guys can submit questions in the comment section or anywhere.
Or any of our
Socials.
TikToks in our Discord. We do have a Discord that we're slowly building up, so if you want to join it, there's that. You could also drop questions there, and they don't have to be limited to just D&D. You could ask us questions about anything you're curious about. If there's a game that you want to know more about, something that one of us has played, or something that we haven't played, or if you just want to ask us general opinion questions, you'll get to see how much you love or hate us based on how we answer. So, there's that. We're embracing the chaos here. That's what we do, right?
And since we didn't do it at the beginning, we're going to do it at the end. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Woohoo, we did it. You can find both of us on Twitch. Yeah, I made that sound effect because something's going to pop up on the screen when that happens.
Ooh, all right. I don't know. And here we are embracing the chaos, right? That's what we do.
As always.
Yeah.
So
that's our only request of you guys. Just go out into the world, embrace the chaos. If you don't know what to do, just ask yourself, what would Kendrick do? And do that. Or Marlon, because Marlon Wayans did some crazy stuff too. You should go look into that. It's funny. It's the first time I've heard a country diss track. It's hilarious.
On that note, it's time for you to take us home.
Oh, all right. Well, I kind of did. But yeah, for me and John, go out there, embrace the chaos, have a good week, and we'll catch you next time.
Later.
Bye, everybody.